Hello and welcome to the HR Kyle podcast, the ultimate resource for HR insights and guidance that will empower both seasoned business professionals and eager job seekers. I'm HR Kyle, your host. I'm excited to embark on this journey with you. In each episode, we'll delve into the intricacies of HR management, uncovering strategies that can transform the way you approach talent acquisition, employee engagement, and workplace dynamics. Whether you're a seasoned HR pro navigating the ever-evolving landscape of human resources or a job seeker striving to land your dream position, this podcast is your compass. Our mission is simple: to provide you with actionable knowledge, expert interviews, and inspiring stories that will help you thrive in the world of HR. So, sit back, relax, and get ready to take your HR game to the next level. Welcome to the HR Kyle podcast, where HR meets success. Welcome back, everyone, to this segment of the HR Kyle podcast. And it's the interview segment, and I know I say this each time, but it really holds true. This is truly my favorite segment of the show. Hope you had a chance, though, to recharge during the break, because we've got an extraordinary guest joining us today. She's not only a leader, but a trailblazer in the nonprofit sector. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Michelle.
Thanks, Kyle.
Michelle, it's great to have you here today. I always like to start off things easy, as I say, and then I make the questions really, really hard after this. But we started off easy with this one. Michelle, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Kyle, I'm focused on growth, both personally and professionally. Each day is an opportunity to experience something new and to learn from it. As the CEO of a nonprofit, there is always something new to research, a new law, a change in guidelines, an idea for a process. And in my personal life, I try to stay focused and seek out new information. Whenever I have an opportunity for free time, which isn't that often, I utilize podcasts, books, articles, and networking to gain knowledge.
Michelle, thank you very much for that introduction. And I have to commend you on the work that you do. I work with a number of nonprofit organizations in my work day to day, and I know the type of dedication that's required to be successful in your role. So I want to make sure our audience realizes that as well. As there's a lot that goes into being the CEO of a nonprofit. And as you say, there's not a lot of downtime with that. Michelle?
No, there's not.
Oh, very true. And I know you live that every day. Michelle, you spent a significant number of years in the for-profit segment. About 10 years ago, though, you made the switch to nonprofit. There are very different working environments, no question about that. Why did you make that switch?
You know, Kyle, I never felt like I was making a difference in the for-profit world. After downsizing in 2010, I knew I was being given an opportunity to make a change in my career. I was already working on an MBA at the time, and it gave me a chance to take a step back and think about what I wanted in the future before I went into whatever my next role was going to be. And ultimately, I knew I wanted to help people live better lives. The path wasn't clear, but I knew what I wanted to focus on. Once I completed the degree, ultimately, when I was looking for positions, I knew that I wanted something that would be in a role that would help others. So eventually I took a position helping people with disabilities find work that matched their skills. It was very rewarding to help someone find a job they could take pride in.
Wonderful. And Michelle, so many valuable lessons there that you share. And not to make a shameless plug, but I guess I'm going to. I have an upcoming book that I hope to release here in the next few months about finding the career not only that you want, but that you deserve. And one of the lessons that I'll share there is precisely what you talked about. Taking that step back, doing a self-assessment, in evaluating what is important to you in your career journey. And as you said, and I couldn't have put it any better, you may not have known where that was going to lead you, but you did a firm self-evaluation to determine what was important to you and what you needed to gain from your work.
Definitely. I took some time to really look at what I was doing and what I no longer wanted to do and matched it with what I'm going to do in the future.
Wonderful. Listeners, there's some solid advice there, and you can see what it has led to for Michelle. Not only career satisfaction, but a great deal of career success. Now, Michelle, obviously a big part of your life's work now is about making a difference for others. How has that impacted your approach to your personal life?
Although my day to day can be difficult and stressful, the reason I'm there makes it all worth it. Feeling fulfilled in the work that I do has definitely guided how I approach my personal life. And there are times when I can become so focused on work that it impacts me negatively. When you're doing something that you love, it's a challenge to turn it off and take a break. And over time, I ultimately realized that the breaks are really important to avoid burnout. So a few years ago, I set a goal to take one long weekend each month, and it's really helped. And I use that time, and I'm very conscious about making sure that I treasure time with my family and friends.
Michelle, again, some wonderful advice there. And we do talk about work-life balance a lot on this podcast, HR Kyle. And what I admire about what you shared there is you make a conscious effort to schedule it, to make it as much a priority as in your life as some of your other goals and aspirations. And I think that's been, sounds like, a critical part to striking that balance.
Absolutely. If you're not focused on it, it slips away from you.
Very true. Michelle, I talk a lot about work environments and the importance of that in supporting employee success. What are some characteristics that you see as similar, and what are some that you see as different between for-profit and nonprofit work environments?
In the for-profit environment, the rules seem to be very rigid. There are guidelines that must be followed. And I understand that. While we have guidelines and rules, I'm fortunate to have the freedom to meet staff where they are and help support their professional and personal success. I can be creative in the way that I approach this and the way that our organization approaches it. One way is through flexibility. We are flexible in their schedule, the hours they work, covering medical appointments, how many hours they work. Over 25% of my staff is semi-retired, which requires us to be very flexible. And as a nonprofit, we can't always match the wages of a for-profit employer. So our work culture and approach as leaders is what can give us the leg up. We do take advantage of a success coach through our employee resource network that we're a member of. And I'm always looking for local contacts for our staff to provide resources and guidance. Overall, I think just having that personal touch and the luxury of a smaller staff is what makes the biggest difference.
Michelle, I'm so glad that you shared that because something that I always talk to candidates about considering is what I call the total compensation package. And I think that's what you've described perfectly there. And it really comes back to something that we started off with, and that is, what are your priorities from your work situation? And as you said so perfectly, you may not be able to match from a pay rate standpoint other employers. So what you try to do to offset that is flexibility, work environment, and other characteristics. In other words, your total compensation proposition is still as promising or more as other employers, depending on what that particular employee prioritizes.
It can definitely help in their personal life when they have flexibility, where our schedule is one thing, but their ability to leave and take their child to a doctor's appointment or a dental appointment can make all the difference in their outside world.
Yeah, very, very true. Michelle, you rose up the ranks quite quickly within your industry segment to become CEO of your current organization. What do you attribute that success to?
Throughout my life, I've always been focused and driven. And when the opportunity arose to become CEO, it was what I had been working towards through education and different positions for over a decade. When I felt I lacked experience in a certain area, I volunteered somewhere so I could get the experience I needed. Being the CEO has been pretty intense at sometimes. I started as the country was shutting down for COVID, new organization, new team, new mandates, and a lot of unknown. But looking back, I probably should have been afraid, but I knew that I could get us through it. I utilized every resource I had, including insight from friends that were in leadership in much larger organizations, and just pulled all the information together from the sources that I had and made decisions as best as I could. And I also showed up every day for my organization, for the new company. And I think that is really what helped me win their trust. It's important. I feel it's important to show up for your team every day.
And your team drew a lot of inspiration from that, it sounds like.
I would love to hope so.
I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did. And Michelle, I think another valuable lesson that you shared there is having an honest discussion about yourself and your skill set and what you bring. And it sounds like you went through that assessment and there were things that absolutely you were strong in, but you also identified a few areas that you wanted to improve. And you know what you did? You went out and made the effort to improve those.
Yes.
Well, Michelle, with the last few minutes of our discussion, what's one piece of advice you would pass along to someone looking to grow into leadership?
I really think the most important aspect is to never stop learning. Listen to podcasts, read books, research areas that are of interest to you. I spent a lot of time exploring areas that would help me later, and network as often as possible, whether it's in person or on a platform like LinkedIn. You never know who you'll meet or who you'll reconnect with. And stay curious in those conversations. I think most importantly in networking, don't always look for the way that person can help you. You need to listen for the ways that you can help them. I also find it important to remember what type of leader you would have wanted in different positions throughout your career and then become that leader.
Fantastic advice. And life truly is a team game, as I like to say, and you certainly emphasize that. And I think you make another very valid point there. Identify those characteristics that you look for from your leaders and try to mimic those in your own behavior.
It's very important when you work through something in your personal life and you wish that someone would have supported you in a certain way. You remember that, and then you can become that person later to help someone else out.
Wonderful. Michelle, what a wonderful way to end our discussion today. And folks, unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, and that includes our time with the remarkable Michelle. Michelle, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. Your insights and passion for making a difference in the nonprofit sector are really commendable. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Kyle.
Folks, you're listening to the HR Kyle podcast, and I hope you enjoyed that interview with our guest today, Michelle, CEO of a nonprofit. Before we get to segment 2, though, let's take a quick break, allow you to have a break, but stay with us. We'll be right back with more of the HR Kyle podcast.
Are you striving to lead your team to success? Or perhaps you're navigating the complexities of the job market. Introducing The Solution, the HR Kyle YouTube channel. Your go-to source for insightful guidance and practical tips. With short 1 to 2 minute clips, our videos save you time while delivering impactful, usable strategies. From effective leadership techniques to mastering the job application process, access valuable advice in minutes. Don't miss out. Subscribe to the HR Kyle channel on YouTube today.
Greetings, I'm Kyle Smith, and I'm here to offer you a speaking experience that goes beyond the ordinary. With a rich background in leadership, HR, and personal development, I bring a unique blend of expertise and passion to every presentation. Whether it's Leadership Unleashed, well-being at work, or career mastery, I delve into topics that empower individuals and organizations to reach their fullest potential. What sets me apart? Proven expertise, an engaging delivery style, and actionable insights that drive positive change. But here's the kicker. I don't just offer a one-size-fits-all approach. I customize my content to meet the specific needs and goals of your event. So let's elevate your event together. Contact me now to reserve your date and unlock the full potential of your audience and organization. Don't miss out on the opportunity to inspire greatness. Visit hrkyle.com today. Welcome back from that break to the HR Kyle podcast. I'm your host, HR Kyle, and we're diving into a thought-provoking topic today. And joining us now is our guest, Rebecca, to discuss the impact of hairstyles, of all things, and I know that sounds ridiculous, but the impact of hairstyles on candidates' hiring and promotional opportunities, and particularly from a discrimination standpoint. Rebecca, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
I am as well. So before we dive into talking about hairstyles and the negative effect they can have on someone getting a job and being promoted, let's start off easy. Rebecca, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a Wisconsin girl, lived here all my life, never moved out of the country, or never moved out of the county that I live in. And I have long, wild, naturally curly hair. So that really hit home with me when I read about the woman who was being discriminated against because of her hair. I thought her hair looked beautiful. And I don't have a lot of diversity where I live, I will say that. It's a small community, and I welcome diversity. I would love to meet more people and have more different everything that I'm used to or that what I grew up with. I think it would be great.
Rebecca, thank you for that introduction. And for this audience, to give you a little bit of background, Rebecca and I initially connected through LinkedIn. And I had shared a posting that I was literally flabbergasted of a young lady who had shared, I believe, Rebecca, was 4 or 5 different photos of herself with different hairstyles. And she commented on the fact that how she had been treated differently in jobs. She had been turned down promotional opportunities and other things relative to her career simply because of how she was wearing her hair one way or the other. And again, that's where you and I connected, both really coming from the same thought process of, this is really odd. We need to talk more about this. And that's where this episode grew out of, to really draw more attention to something that, again, from my seat, I'm flabbergasted by and just think it's absolutely ridiculous. And I think if we get more dialogue, such as today, around it, maybe this is something that we can put in the rearview mirror relative to lifestyles and getting a job that you want and being promoted. So, again, Rebecca, thank you for joining me and thank you for that intro. First question. Go ahead.
No, I agree with what you were saying. My comment to your post was, don't we have bigger things to worry about than hairstyles?
Exactly.
And I think we do. I can't say that I've gone to work and looked at someone's hair and thought, oh my gosh, what are they doing? It just never has crossed my mind. So that's why I said what I said, because we do have bigger things to worry about, in my opinion.
Couldn't agree more. And I'm of that same vein. I never looked at someone and said, well, because of that hairstyle, they're not able to do this job. And that's how ridiculous just to verbalize it, that's how ridiculous it is. So with that in mind, what has made this topic resonate so much with you that you said, gosh, this guy is inviting people on. I want to talk with him more about this?
Primarily because I thought her hair looked really nice. The different hairstyles she had, it in comparison to mine, because that I will compare it to, it was just so well put together. I can't even do that, and I have very long, wild, curly hair. And I thought, people probably, well, I know that people at work have said things to me about my hair, and I just said, well, if you don't like it, just don't look at it. And I may have offended them, and I know I have offended some, because some have given me the reply of, oh, okay. I don't know that I, too, would comment on someone's hair. Like I said, I don't really care. If a person can do the job, they're qualified, and they're doing the job, what difference does it make?
Exactly. Yeah, because the hair is certainly not, quote unquote, getting in the way, I'm sure.
No. No, I wouldn't think your hair would be getting in the way. If you worked in a place where you had long hair and you had to have it up for safety reasons, obviously that's different. Then you have to do something. Or if you are in food service, then you would have to have your hair up. But I thought she looked great.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Rebecca, how prevalent do you believe this issue is, and what has been the emotional impact on you and people that you know?
Uh, I think this is an eye-opener for me because I never, again, since I saw that post, I never thought hair would be an issue. So I don't know what the impact is. I know what people say, again, about my hair. I cannot imagine that a person couldn't get a promotion because of their hair, male or female or whoever you are, that you wouldn't get a promotion or you wouldn't get hired because of your hair. That just doesn't even make any sense to me.
And even as I hear your description with some of your experiences, which don't go to the extent of what we've described, even there, it sounds like it's certainly a distraction at the best case scenario. But I'm sure in the worst case scenario, it creates some uneasy, some tension in the workplace that absolutely isn't necessary.
Oh, it is not necessary. Absolutely. If I'm having a wild hair day and you can't focus, I guess that's really the other person's issue. Like, try and focus on the conversation or the work we're doing or whatever it may be. I honestly, it's just so hard for me to even the concept of someone worrying about hair. I am just, it's hard for me to even talk about it because it makes no sense to me. I mean, if we have harassment in so many other ways, and discrimination, and if we all just, the old adage, treat each other the way you want to be treated, this wouldn't be an issue. And why is it such a bad thing to have people have different things? Isn't that what we want? We want to be different. So why are we so consumed with everyone looking the same or having the same or whatever it may be? No person wants to have the same shirt on when they go to work every day. You see your friend walking down the hall, it's like, oh, we're wearing the same shirt. Why would we want to have the same hairstyles?
Great point. Rebecca, in the audience here, and you may or may not know this, in 2019, California, the state of California, became the first state to enact a law which actually prohibited discrimination based upon hairstyles and hair texture. Now, that particular law is known as the Crown Act, and that Crown is an acronym which stands for Create a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair. Now, in my mind, and I'm sure in yours as well, that's a significant step. But what do we need to do, and what steps do we need to take as leaders to protect people from being discriminated against based upon their hairstyle?
First of all, it's a shame that we have to pass something like that. It really is. We shouldn't even have to do that, and we do. So, from my perspective, I don't hire people, but I work with people and I lead people in different areas. And I would say we just have to keep talking about it. And just, I mean, it's so, why can't we just accept it? How do we accept it? How do we say, I like your hair? Why don't we walk down the hall and say, hey, you look great today, as opposed to whatever else people were saying to this person? And I would advocate for that. If someone if someone was having a bad hair day, so be it. If it just is just that simple, literally having a bad hair day, just let them have a bad hair day. We have, other bad days, emotionally, mentally, physically. I would support any kind of hairstyle if that's what they want. It's not harming anyone. Why don't we just be okay with it? I mean, that's a global issue. That's a much bigger issue. And this hairstyle business is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, I think we can both agree on that this is part of a bigger issue from a discrimination standpoint. I mean, that's in essence what we're talking about. This is another way, another facet of discrimination.
I think so. I really do. I agree.
But I think you're exactly right. And again, that's why we're having this conversation today. We want to bring light to this topic. We want to demonstrate through our words and our examples of just how ridiculous it is. And hopefully by drawing this kind of attention to it, over time, we're going to see less and less of it and less people impacted from a negative standpoint. Again,
I hope so.
Oh my gosh, so do I.
Yeah, I think like everything else, we need to keep working at it. We need to keep talking about it. We need to keep making it okay. We make a broken leg okay. We make, mental illness, mental wellness. We want people to be mentally well. And if that means having a certain hairstyle for them, they should do that.
Couldn't agree more, because one of the things that we know is a factor in success is being authentic. We hear that phrase a lot, but there's a strong basis in evidence to that you perform your best when you're able to be your authentic self. Well, what's any more authentic than being able to wear your hair the way that you want to, in the natural way?
Absolutely natural. Absolutely. I agree. And if I could show you my hair, you would say, yep, that's definitely natural.
Rebecca, you may be encouraging us to go the video route going forward for our podcast. So when we transition to that, I'll bring you back on.
Oh, okay. That sounds good.
Well, Rebecca, as we bring more focus on this issue, and with the few minutes we have left, where would you say we are from a progress standpoint on this issue?
I would like to believe and like to say that we're moving forward. It just feels like lately I feel stuck. I don't know how, I do know how some others feel because I have conversation with my friends and my family, and we need to shift back to, like you said, the uniqueness or the realness of each one of us as individuals. And I perform best when I am allowed to be me. You're going to get the best work out of me. My families that I serve are going to get the best of me. And that just helps us all around as our own little communities and globally. I don't know where we're at right now. I don't. It's just been a real struggle for me. So I would be interested to hear what others answer to that question. That's a really good question.
No, I agree with you. And we'll build some dialogue around this when I publish this episode as well to get additional thoughts on this topic. Because I'm with you, I would like to hear what others have to say also. But I think to wrap it up, you made a couple of really key points there. One, we've got to keep talking about it. There's got to be more dialogue around it. The second point that I would like to make, Rebecca, from what you shared is, and we know this is true, you perform your best. And that's you, Rebecca, you, Kyle, the collective you. Perform your best when you're your authentic self. So leaders, if you're listening out there and you're hung up on this issue and you're making decisions on hiring and promotion and so on based upon someone's hair, I think you're really missing on an opportunity to attract and retain employees who are strong performers, because you're entirely focusing on the wrong issue.
Yep, I agree. I would hate to ever hear that was the case for someone I worked with, that because of their hair.
Well, Rebecca, that's a good way to wrap up this segment. And folks, I want to thank you, as I always do, for joining us on the HR Kyle podcast, but I certainly want to extend a heartfelt thank you to our guest, Rebecca, for joining us today and sharing her valuable insights on this topic. Rebecca, thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. I look forward to hearing from you again.
Well, I get the feeling you're probably going to join us again sometime in the near future. We'll talk about something else, or it might even be related, but you're definitely going to come back because we appreciate the insights you shared today.
Great. Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of the HR Kyle podcast. We hope you found our discussion valuable and filled with insights that you can apply in your professional journey. Whether you're a business leader aiming to foster a thriving workplace or a job seeker looking to carve out your own path, remember that HR Kyle is the compass that can guide you towards success. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share it with your network. We're committed to being your trusted source for HR wisdom, and we look forward to having you back with us for our next episode. Remember, in the world of HR and professional growth, there's always room for progress. Be sure to visit our website at hrkyle.com. That's hrkyle.com to learn more about how we can help you meet your business and professional goals. So until next time, this is HR Kyle signing off. Stay motivated, stay informed, and keep reaching for those career goals. Music provided by bensound.com. That's bensound.com.